No niin, tervetuloa. Tällä kertaa pelataan tällaista indie-kauhupeliä, jonka on tehnyt Benjamin Rivers. Tän nimi on Home. All I remembered at that point was finding myself alone. Oh my head, where was I? It was so dark. There was something by my feet, a flashlight. Taskulamppu, no okei. Jaha, mikäs toi? That house, where was I? There was a body lying on the floor. Who was it? I didn't recognize his face. He was still kinda worn. The desk had a computer and some papers on it and a single drawer. I didn't want to snoop, but did I open the drawer? Yes. Receipts, pens, and a blurry photo. Looked like a store of some kind. Why did this look so familiar? Blood on the wall. It smelled fresh and sickening. I realized there was blood on my shoes and pants. No se ei ole hyvä asia. Oh man, I had to get out of there. If that man died in the hallway, what was the blood doing here? I really shouldn't have been going through this stuff, getting my fingerprints everywhere. I noticed that I limped as I moved down the stairs. How did I hurt my leg, I wondered. All I could really recall was coming home, seeing Rachel. I was upset. She looked afraid. I shook my head and tried to clear it. I knew I should head downstairs, try to find a way out. The shelf was full of books on local history and hunting. Seemed like the owner of the house really knew the area. There were scribbles of all kinds on random scraps of paper and notes about some kind of water tower. Did he mean the one by the old train yard? Ilmeisesti näitä voi niinku tutkia esineitä 2 kertaa. Jos katsoo toi toinen puoli ensin. A thin grey mouse was stuck in a trap. It looked frantic but exhausted. Did I free it? No vapautetaan nyt sitten. A collection of rusted tools. These looked like they'd seen a lot of use and were caked in damp-smelling dirt. Why weren't they in a shed? Ihan hyvä kysymys. This was an odd place to keep yard tools. What would they have been used for in here? I found a picture of a couple. It looked like it had been moved a lot. There seemed to be a switch behind it. Did I push the switch? No, todellakin. It depressed smoothly into the wall. I heard a faraway click somewhere. Something must have opened somewhere. An old dining table covered in dirty dishes for 2 people. There were dozens of beer cans and other liquor bottles among the dishes. The smell was turning my stomach. How long had this been here rotting? The man upstairs didn't look like he had been dead a long time. A black and white photo looked like the man upstairs and his wife, I guessed. There was no reason for me to keep this. Did I take it? I slipped the photo into my pocket. Maybe this would help me find some answers. Mennään taas edelleen, jatketaan matkaa alakertaan. I looked like hell. My clothes were dirty and torn, and there was mud caked all over my shoes. Had I been sleepwalking again? Was that how I got to that house? The front door was blocked by a pile of furniture. I knew I had to find another way out. Onks tää se pile? Ilmeisesti. Juu. No niin. Tuossa on mahdollista mennä tosta ovesta, mutta katsotaan onko tää... Oh. The door was taped up and seemed to be stuck. By the smell, I guessed it led to the kitchen. I gave the door a hard shove, and to my surprise, it cracked open. Okay. There were sheets of paper all over the kitchen table. It looked like a series of names were written down, but they were too smudged to read. I could only make out a few of the notes. Keycard, locker, last one, I promise. It didn't make much sense at the time. The smell of old dishes and moldy food was dizzying. Täällä ei ollut mitään muuta. The bathroom was spotless. Everything had been wiped to a sheen. I wondered if it was the man's wife who did the cleaning or him. There was a photo development tray lying on the floor. Some leftover negatives were sticking out, but they were pretty blurry. I thought I saw what looked like treetops. It seemed odd that the tray had been left there, considering how clean the rest of the bathroom was. The switch in the wall appeared to have unlocked the door. Okay. The box looked heavy, but there were marks on the floor. It had obviously been moved before. Maybe I had found a way out. I must have moved it right. No. Hyvä. There was a ladder going underground where the box was. A dank smell rose from the passage. Did I climb down the ladder? Yes. I looked again at the photo I found in the house. The couple looked distant, like they didn't want to be in the same picture. I wondered where the wife was. My leg was in terrible shape, but I had to get out. Tässä suunnassa ei ole mitään. Footprints in the dirt. Looked like more than one kind, and a lot of traffic. Whatever this place was, it was obviously used a lot. Places all over were marked on the old map of town, the industrial area near the river, various houses, and even the water tower near the old rail station. The guy upstairs must have done this, but what was his interest in the water tower? Some of the markings matched the scribbles I saw on the bookshelf upstairs. Newspaper clippings from the local paper. They were all about murders in town over the last few years. Wait, there were photos of our house. What the hell was that about? Maybe I should have looked around more, tried to find some kind of information. Oh, Rachel, please be okay. I wanted to rush home, but I had to find a way out first, and I needed to see what else was down there. A work table covered in papers, dirt, and a handgun. I hated guns. I didn't take it, did I? Yes. I tucked the small handgun into my pocket. Its weight was somehow reassuring. Why did I take the gun? No, jos me vaikka tarvitaan sitä jossain vaiheessa. It was so dark down there, and the air smelled stale and putrid. I couldn't believe what I saw. What was this place? The desk looked old and was caked with grime. On it was a stack of old faded paper covered with what looked like names. They were scratched out and illegible notes were written beside them in faded blue ink. I could only make out a few letters. None of it made any sense to me. Nothing about Rachel or me was written there. Maybe I needed to keep looking. Some kind of homemade rack, slung together with poorly cut wood and rope. It was caked with old blood. Somebody didn't actually use that, did they? The smell in that room was like old grease and rot. I wasn't getting any closer to finding anything useful. Crudely made shelves. They looked like they were holding cans of some kind of corrosive. The labels were worn and slick, but I could still see the warnings. The slight fumes that still emanated from the cans made me dizzy. Oh. Oikeastaan mä kyllä... Niin, eli tikkaat. Katsotaan vielä. It looked like a cage. It was small, but there was something coating the bottom. Something wet. That place was getting worse all the time. I knew I had to keep moving. Tää on herännyt jossain sarjamurhaajan talossa taikka sitten tää on itse sarjamurhaaja. There looked to be bones half dug into the ground and the remains looked old. The faded clothes that stuck up amongst the dirt looked familiar. They looked like the clothes that woman was wearing in the photo I found. Was this the man's wife? I wondered what would I have found if I had dug deeper. Duck deeper. Eihän tässä pysty... Pystyykö menee takaisin ylöspäin? Täällähän oli se lapio. Okei, ei pääse. Okei. No siinä tapauksessa. Jatketaan vaan matkaa. Mä ajattelin, että jos tässä kohtaa pitää hakea oikeasti se lapio ja tulla takas tonne ja kaivaa. Täällä ei ole mitään muuta kuin tää häkki. Some kind of old boxes. They looked like they were years old. Wait a minute. These boxes had old clothes in them. Clothes I remembered throwing out after Rachel and I moved to town. What the hell were they doing there? If I was scared before, I was terrified now. Why were there photos of our house there and these clothes? Was that why I was there? I checked my back pocket and realized my wallet was missing. Did I come to that house or did somebody bring me? Ihan hyvä kysymys. Lepakoita. Lepakot lentele. I remember noticing the broken ladder. I had to be careful. Pääseekö sit yli vai... Eihän tässä ei mitään hyppynäppäintä, ei. Ei oo. Vai siitä sit pääse. Tutkitaan tää puoli ensin. There was a rope hanging there. I wasn't sure how sturdy it was. Did I take it? Kai me kerätään esineet. Maybe the rope would make that broken ladder easier to descend. Okei, se oli jopa pakollinen. Okei, siellä on niinku luuranko seinän takana piilossa. Mun aavistukseni oli ilmeisesti oikeassa. The rope I found would have let me climb down the broken ladder safely. Did I climb down? No kyllä me varmaan on tutkittu tää alue nyt aika tarkkaan, niin... I could hear a faint hum and the smell from before started to get worse. Mitä? And the smell from before... smell from... Joo. Started to get worse. Kyllä, joo. A bunch of old newspapers, wheat pasted together. A message had been hastily smeared on it. Keep out, danger due to cave-in. I wanted nothing more than to get out of there. I could still feel a faint impression of the rope I had slid down as I pressed against the heavy metal door. It was probably for the best that I hadn't jumped. The ache in my leg was bad enough as it was. If I could have, though, I would have run straight out of those awful tunnels. Who would keep such a place? At least, I thought, I had found that old handgun. It seemed to work, and from the smell of it, it had been used already. I kept the gun in my pocket. It seemed a familiar weight there. An exposed ventilation shaft. Maybe someone crawled through here, but it was so high up that must have been a sore landing. My leg ached just thinking about it. There was dirt on the ground. It looked wet and there was grass smeared within it. Odd, there was similar dirt on my own shoes. Tutkitaanko tää ensin? I could hear a faint trickling sound like water. What was that? Aha. A kitchen knife covered in drying blood. Thinking about it made me sick. I didn't even want to touch it. Did I take the knife? No, otetaan. I slipped the knife in my boot since I had the gun in my pocket. Did I really need all this? Tuskin. Siellä on tikkaat. Tässä on exit-ovi. Mutta tutkitaan vähän tätä mestaa ensin. Okei. Jokin räjähti. The door was locked. There was a musty smell from inside. I wasn't sure, but I thought it was some kind of regulator. I had no idea how it worked. Through the dust I could see handprints from the previous use, probably from whoever worked in those sewers. I wasn't sure what those valves were for. Did I turn it anyway? Lucky. Käydäs katsomassa kuitenkin ne tikkaat no aluksi. Tuntuu, että toi alue jatkuu niin pitkällä. Disgusting. It was a mess of filthy garbage bags. There were rips and tears in most of the bags. What looked like an old videotape was sticking out. Did I take the tape? Yeah. I wasn't sure what I hoped to discover with the tape, but I took it anyway. I did not want to keep digging through this mess. Selvä. Me käytiin, mutta mennään seuraavaksi tänne. I wasn't sure what those valves were for. Did I turn it anyway? Käännetään nyt sekin sitten. Ja tää käännetään myös. Ja käännetään myös tää viimeinen. Okei. Joo. Niitä pystyy kääntelemään myös uudestaankin. En kyllä löytänyt myöskään mitään semmoista, mikä olisi antanut ymmärtää, että niitä pitäisi kääntää jossain tietyssä järjestyksessä. There was a rusty ladder sunk into the water which smelled disgusting. I knew I couldn't climb down that. Maybe I could find a way to drain the putrid water. Aha, okei, eli niillä valveilla sitten niin kun tyhjennetään tuo vesi. Niissä on joku tietty järjestys. Löytänyt mitään, mikä selvittäisi, missä järjestyksessä näitä pitää kääntää. Looked like I turned off the water flow in this valve. Okei. Eli toi 4 oli niinku ensin ja sit sitä ei pysty enää kääntämään. Eli tsekataan nyt sitten. Joo. Onko se sitten niinku 4 ja 1? Okei, nyt on pakko myöntää kyllä, että mä oon ihan eksyksessä. Nyt katsoo vielä sinne huoneeseen tänne, mistä se vesi pitää tyhjentää, ettei täällä olisi mitään. Ei oo mitään. Blood marks from where the knife was. Now I was carrying that gun and this knife. I was worried what the police might think if they saw me. Niinpä. Tonne ei edelleenkään pääse. Joo. Joo. Vai siis pitääkö niitä vaan sit kiertää niin monta kertaa, että ne ei enää kierry? Kokeillaan nyt vielä semmoistakin. Ja sit jos se vaikka resetoituu vielä sillai. Et jos on niinku, että... Joo. Oh come on. Oh come on. Okei. Voi vitsi. No sehän se oli. Eli niitä piti vaan kaikkia kääntää niin kauan, ettei ne enää käänny. Ei ollut mitään tekemistä järjestyksellä eikä mitään. Nyt mä tunnen itseni typeräksi. Niin. Ja miksipä oliskaan. Mä aloin ajattelemaan aivan liian monimutkaisesti tätä. peli, ihan niin kuin olisi kyseessä joku Resident Evil ongelmanratkaisu. Nytkin täällä on 2 mahdollisuutta, mihin voidaan mennä. Mä tiedän, mennään tutkimaan sitä 3 täältä. Looked like the water drained out of that crate in the wall. There was a small metal key left floating in the shallow pool of rancid water. Did I take it? No totta kai me otetaan avain. I pocketed the small key, but it was so odd-shaped I had no idea what it might open. The smell hadn't improved much, and the room was damp. The safety poster had definitely seen better days. How old was that facility? The faded paper was yellow and dusty, but there it had obviously been wiped off recently. En mä tiedä, tutkitaan ensin tää. Aha, okei. Okay. The door was locked. I could see a faint light within. Ei kai ole muita vaihtoehtoja. Sitten mennään ylös. Täällä on ruumis. I found another dead body, a sewer worker. By the wounds all over his face and body I figured he had been stabbed repeatedly. There was a keyring sticking out of the man's pocket. Did I take it? No, me varmaan tarvitaan sitä täältä ulos pääsemiseen. I thought about the knife I had found with some disgust as I carefully picked the keys from his pocket. I was almost worried he was going to grab me. I was feeling even more sick from seeing another dead man. I didn't want to get any more blood on my clothes. There was a security camera in the room. There must have been a way to see what had happened. Maybe the VHS tape I found could be useful. I couldn't help but wonder if someone was watching me from the other side. A hint of fresh air here. I must have been near an exit, but I wondered, what did that key I found on the sewer worker do? And what was on the videotape I found? This must have been the other end of that ventilation shaft. Whoever used it could have gotten past that flooded room with this. Clever, but why go through all that trouble? Onkohan se nyt niin, että meidän... Hetkinen, siellä oli se yksi lukituovi. Missä se oli? Nyt kun meillä on parikin avainta, niin mennään tutkimaan vielä sinne. Hetkinen, se oli... Oliko se tällä puolella? I tried a bunch of the keys on the keyring I had found on that sewer worker and one of them seemed to fit. Noniin. A collection of stale liquor bottles covered the floor. The wall was littered with dozens of old faded papers. Whoever did this was obsessed with some local murders. According to some of the clippings, bodies had been found in ravines in the forest and in one case dumped in the back of an abandoned truck. I couldn't be sure, but I thought some of these same articles had also been pasted up back in those tunnels. Did that sewer worker find this room? Is that why he was killed? That room didn't seem like much of a place for drinking. What was the point? A faded receipt was half trampled on the floor. It was from the local train station and was for 2 tickets. I didn't know what use could be, but did I keep the receipt? Not sure. I neatly folded the soiled receipt and slipped it into my front pocket. Oliko täällä vielä joku semmonen mesta, missä olisi pystynyt katteleen sen VHS-nauhan? Mutta tuskin. En mä ainakaan muista nähneeni tai kokeneeni missään, että olisi ollut VHS. No. Jotain täällä tapahtuu kyllä. Tsekataan vielä tää puoli. Se ei niinku voi palata noille entisille alueille sen jälkeen, kun niiltä poistuu. Et se on niinku aina tutkittava sit kerralla loppuun, jos mieli jotain tutkii. Täältä löydettiin se just tää VHS-kasetti. No, ehkä tämmönen kasettisoitin tulee sitten vastaan myöhemmin tai jotain. Hei, tääkin oli vielä. Tsekkaama. Tää oli lukossa aiemmin. Noniin. The shelf full of security tapes was strictly organized, though covered in dust. Looked like the tape I found was the one that was missing from the shelf. There was a dusty VCR on the security desk. I wondered what was on that VHS tape I found. Did I play the tape? No, todella. It looked like there could have been 2 men. I couldn't stand to watch that video again. Just. Okay. Joo, eli siinä näkyy se hyökkäys, kun tämän viemärityöntekijän kimppuun hyökättiin. Mutta se oli niinku epäselvä se kuva, joten eikä me sitten jatketa matkaa. Would I need that gun or that knife before the end? Both weighed me down and aggravated my leg as I climbed that old ladder. The thought of that videotape still gave me chills. Who was it that didn't want to be seen? Was it the same person that hid all those clippings away in that locked room? Suddenly, the awful smell of that sewer gave way to a pine-scented blast of fresh air. Nyt mä alkaa epäilyttää. Tää jatkuu näin pitkälle toi puoli, että pitäisikö sittenkin tutkia ensin tää toinen puoli. The lid had fallen on the entrance there and was stuck shut. Niin, eli siellä ei ollut mitään oikealla puolella. Sieltä tultiin ja se taas on tukossa se reitti, joten okei. Me saatetaan päästä, mutta toisaalta tänne on nuoli. Mikäs tää? I tried the little key I had fished out of the murky puddle in the sewers. It fit and I heaved open the rusty door. Okay. The wind was picking up a bit. The night air had become strangely chilly. Joo, tuossa on niinku joku talo ja siinä ovi, mutta tsekataan nyt tää alue ensin. Niin monta vaihtoehtoa. Tikkaat ja this must have been the entrance to the forest that was mentioned on that map I had seen. Whoever was poking around in those tunnels underneath that man's house had scribbled notes on this place, but I couldn't make them out. Here, the sign pointed out various campsites and walking paths within the woods. It mentioned a river and maybe a washroom, but the rest was too faded to see clearly. Mennään tsekkaa vielä ne tikkaat ennen kuin jatketaan tähän suuntaan matkaa. An old ladder leading up to an ancient water tower. The ladder needed to be extended so I could climb it. Did I extend the ladder? I popped the latch and brought the ladder down. No kärännyt siellä vesitornissa, siitä on ollut jo pari kertaa aiemmin puhetta. Siellä meni taas lentohiiriä. In a patch of smeared dirt and grass there was a beat up old wallet. I thought it was mine. Did I take it? I slid the filthy wallet into my back pocket. I noticed it didn't contain any kind of gun permit. In fact, it didn't contain any cards or ID of any kind. I thought I should recover my credit card and driver's license at least. Should. From the railing I could see over the woods and down to the entrance to the sewers. Had I come through there before? If I did, someone definitely could have seen me. It was getting cool up there, and I shivered with an uneasy sense of what was to come. How did I get home from here? Täältä saatiin lompakko. I almost wish I had paid more attention to those crazy scribblings. Maybe I would have been less nervous about entering that dark forest. A dry old picnic table sat lonely amongst the trees. It had carvings and marks from years of previous campers. As I tried to read some of the names and the marks, I idly thumbed the knife I had found. If I wanted to, I could have carved something on the table. Did I? No. Vaikka niin sitten. With a few crude strokes, I etched a simple design into the wood. R+H. I felt like a teenager defacing the table. I read some of the other names and notes on the table's surface. Phil, Henry, Daniel, David, Jenny. Seemed like the table had seen a lot of use over the years. The path ended in a cold-looking river. I wasn't sure if it was safe to cross like this. Did I cross it? En nyt ainakaan vielä. In that darkness, it didn't seem wise to try. Maybe there was another option. Käydään tutkia toinen reitti ensin. Trampled into the dirt and grass was a plastic card of some kind. I brushed it off and was surprised to see it was my credit card. I wasn't sure if it was still usable, but it was mine. Did I take back my ilman muuta? I pocketed the credit card. Hopefully I could find my driver's license too. Through the fence I could see a dilapidated outbuilding. I wondered if I could find my way around. Oh no, täällä on paljon lisää. There was a fire pit there. It was still a bit warm and not warm. Bit warm and a few embers still burned at the bottom. Was someone else out in those woods? Why did they abandon their campsite? 2 folding camping chairs were on the ground. One was knocked over. There were a couple of cans of beer spilled on the ground. Whoever was here left this place in a hurry, but why? The cheap dome tent slept 2 people. I shone my flashlight inside and could see some bedrolls, 2 backpacks, and a cooler. I felt like if I kept rooting through the campsite, someone would walk in on me. Eli me taidettiin tulla tästä keskimmäisestä. Meillä on 2 tutkittavana näitä, joten tää on vasemmanpuoleinen. Yes, tossa. There was some personal effects shoved back into the rock. Wait, there was a notebook there too. Did I read it? Inside the cheap dollar store notebook was page after one page of names and lists. None of it made much sense. The newest page contained several names. Heather, Olivia, Ashley, Cheryl, Iris, Daphne, Holly, Rose, Rachel. Rachel. Her name was last on the list and had a mark beside it in blue ink. The names Daphne and Olivia had been crossed out in the same blue ink. Cheryl, Heather, and Rose had also been crossed out, but these marks looked older and more faded. Sarjamurhaaja, joka tappaa naisia. Ja sitten ehkä siinä tapauksessa miehiä, jos on jäämässä kiinni niin kuin sen viemärityöntekijä. Keskimmäisestä tultiin, että koitetaan nyt tätä oikealla puolella olevaa. Ihan taasuusreitti. No, 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 no. Don't. No, no. Ei mennä tänne vielä, eikö tässä ollut vielä yksi reitti? Tuolta tultiin, joten tämä. Oikealle ei pääse. The sign was the same as the first one I had seen. This must have been the exit to the other side of the woods. I had finally found the exit. Once I left, I knew I never wanted to return there. Okei, eli siis me ei päästä. Toisin sanottuna me ei päästä takaisin tosta taas. Tää peli kyllä varoittaa ainakin osassa niistä hetkistä, jolloin ei enää pääse palaamaan takaisin. Mennään tsekkaa tää no-no-talo. The grimy sink had a small patch in it that looked almost clean. There wasn't much in the way of clean water there, but the sink did work. There was a damp-smelling plank leaning against the stall door. I might have been able to cross the river with it. Did I take it? Yes. I managed to carry the plank under my arm so it didn't get in the way. Okei, eli nyt me voidaan palata sinne joelle. Lisää mahdollisuuksia. Mitenköhän me löydetään se reitti? Katsotaas. Elikkä tässä me tultiin vasemmanpuoleisesta. Täällä me tultiin keskimmäisestä. Olisiko se nyt peräti tässä sitten? Ei. Liian monta reittiä. Joo, nyt ollaan oikealla suunnalla. Kuuluu sitä paitsi vielä joen ääntä. The plank I found was long enough to form a crude bridge, but I wasn't sure it would hold. Did I use it? Kyllä mä käytän. Two bodies, two young women, were half dug into a hasty, shallow grave. Between the trees. The younger-looking one was still face up, her dead eyes gleaming against my flashlight. They deserved better than that. Did I clean up the gravesite? Ei kuulosta kyllä viisaalta, mutta tehdään niin. I tried to cover them up a bit more and I closed the younger woman's eyes. Wow. Raskauttavaa todistusaineistoa luomassa, ei se mitään. I fashioned a crude marker. I wasn't sure why, but I felt I had to do something. Girls weren't carrying ID, so I couldn't determine their names. I only hoped that whoever had done this had done it quickly. I wondered now if they had a phone or something at their campsite. Maybe I could call for help. Aha, okei, eli nyt jos löydettäisiin sinne takaisin sinne, missä oli se teltta, niin sieltä voisi teoriassa löytyy puhelin. Ehkä. Tai sitten ei. Oli hyvänen aika, mikä se reitti oli? Olisiko se ollut täällä oikealla? Sitten kun vasemmalla oli se reitti, mihin meidän kuuluu mennä. Tai niin, mikä on siis se poistumisreitille johtava. Joo, itse asiassa. Olivia Daphne. The inside of that tent was suffocating. Ei täältä mitään löytynyt. Okei, olin väärässä. Vai hetkinen, onks tää nyt se? Joo, kyllä. Tuossa oli toi No-No-talo. Ja nyt kun mennään tähän suuntaan, niin täällä on poistumisreitti. The forest started to thin out a bit, and through the trees I could make out parts of the town beyond and the first hints of light. The mysteries of that forest were behind me, but I could still feel them on my neck like a warm breath. Those girls I had found, someone had taken them from their campsite and had murdered them. Was it the same person who had left that odd notebook? I was even more eager to get somewhere safe and to find a way to reach Rachel. As I stepped through the gate, I suddenly recognized the auto parts factory where I had worked as a machinist for all those years. The plant had closed almost 3 years ago now. Times were better then. I thought I could hear a faint rustling behind me. Maybe it was just the wind. Yksi juttu, minkä mä haluan tehdä, mä haluan vähän kurkkia vielä. Tällä reitillä tässä ei ollut niinku mitään löydettävää. Et onks yläpuolella jotain? Voi olla, että on ihan turhaa, mutta... Se oli täysin turhaa. Voi. Okei, 2 vaihtoehtoa. Tutkitaan tää ensin. Ja siellä on taas ruumis. I found the body of a security guard, just doing his job, no doubt. His face was covered with blood from some kind of head wound. I wondered, was this flashlight his? Okay. I saw the blunt wound on the guard's head and looked again at the flashlight I was carrying. Oh no, please. Murhaansa kädessä. Hyvin menee. Dug into the ground was a cracked old watch. First my wallet and now this. Did I retrieve my watch? Joo, otetaan vaan. The watch was useless, but I put it on my wrist anyway. I wished I could remember. Why was all my stuff missing? Että löydettiin me kello ruumiin vierestä, rannekello. Ei kovin hyvä merkki. One of the lockers hung open. Its contents were tossed around like someone had been looking for something. Old work clothes had been picked through, and a few photos and notes had been ripped off the door and spread around. There was a large power box with 5 lights on it. Cables burst out of the box, snaking off to other parts of the factory. The metal was starting to wear and cobwebs had collected on the corners. The box wasn't receiving power. The door was locked tight. It seemed to be connected to the power box beside it. Okay. The door was locked shut and there was a little electronic box under the handle. A sign was pasted to the front of that said. The sign was pasted to the front of that said, danger closed for repairs. Okei. No sitten me mennään tänne ylöspäin portaita. Every part of this plant smelled old and rotted. I noticed the old bulletin board on the wall. Mikä tämä vai? The board contained yellowed clippings of newspaper cartoons and notices. There were notes to and from the guys that worked here. One of them was to Norman, who was one of the older guys on the line. Norman took over a general store after the factory closed. He, Rachel, and I would get lunch every now and then. Rachel liked him because he seemed more positive despite the setback. I don't think I could say the same about me. A power panel. Looked like it was shut off. Did I push the switch? Kyllä. Okei, eli meidän on löydettävä 5 näitä tämmösiä. The open locker was stuffed with dirty work clothes and old boots. There was a photo of a woman taped to the inside, but it was scratched out and the face was unrecognizable. That woman's photo. I knew I had to get back to Rachel to find out what happened. Power panel. Toinen. Kytetään se päälle. Jännä juttu, toi ensimmäinen ei pitänyt mitään tuommoista ääntä. It was shut tight. There was a rusty looking card slot on the side. Eli jos löydetään niinku avainkortti, niin täällä toisessa kerroksessa vasemmalla puolella olisi sitten. Mikäs tää on? The power panel still wasn't working. Did I try again? Joo, okei, eli ne kytkeytyy sit kans tässä vähän sama kuin niissä valveissa. Eli pitää käyttää niin monta kertaa, että kuuluu toi vähän niin kuin sähköinen humina tai käynnistymisen ääni. Okei. Tuosta pääsee 3. kerrokseen. Our old break table. The layer of dust and grime only made seeing this thing more. Looked like some beer bottles had been used on the table recently. I wondered, was that guard using this as a break room of his own? Hartia vetämässä kaljaa töissä, työvuorossa. Tutkitaan tää vasen reitti ensin. This was Norman's locker. The door was dented like someone had punched it. I don't remember him doing that when we worked there. My head ached and I recalled the last time Norman, Rachel and I all had lunch together. Rachel seemed so much more at ease when we all hung out. No, se oli jo 3, joka on nyt päällä. A utility shelf crammed with mismatched tools and items. There was a claw hammer on the shelf. Did I take the hammer? Todellakin. As I took the hammer, I noticed it wasn't as dusty as the rest of the tools on the shelf. Silläkin on murjattu joku. Totta kai. Me on kerätty kaikki murha-aseet. Kaikki. Peitetty ruumiit. Jätetty sormenjäljet kaikkialle. Toisin sanottuna me ollaan aivan kusessa. A utility shelf crammed with... Joo, niin siinä ei ollut mitään uutta tekstiä. Tsekataan tää. The locker was a complete mess. Hidden at the bottom, though, was a magnetic card. Did I take the card? Todellakin otetaan kortti. Nyt meillä on sinne 2. kerrokseen se. Se ei kytkeytynyt vielä päälle. Mitä? Ei vieläkään. Se vaati 3 painallusta. tommonen vähän niin kuin generaattorin ääni tai... mutta tutkitaan joka tapauksessa tää alue tarkka. Mulla alkaa kehkeytyä myös toinen arvio mielessäni ja se on tää työkaveri, tää Norman. Jos se onkin se sarjamurhaaja, mutta se yrittää lavastaa tämän syylliseksi. Tosin me tehdään kyllä aika hyvää työtä itsekin oman itsemme lavastamisessa. I struck with the hammer, the old wooden boards came apart easily. Okei, tähän tarvittiin sitä lekaa tai pasaraa. After I had removed the planks, I left the hammer on the floor. This was my locker there in the factory. It stank of booze. There was a picture of Rachel on the inside. It looked like it had been torn up. I thought I had taken that picture home when the factory closed. This room was nothing but bad memories. There was a mess of empty booze bottles. I wondered if that man in the house had something to do with this. He sure had a lot of alcohol at his place. Maybe that guard outside caught him hiding up here. Mutta nyt mennään sinne kakkoskerrokseen ja vasempaan laitaan ja käytetään siellä sitä avainkorttia. Ykköskerroksesta päästäisiin vaikka saman tien poistumaan, mutta ei haluta. The keycard I found seemed like it would pass through this reader. Did I use the keycard? Kyllä. I slid the card through the old reader and turned the handle. Mitäs täällä? There was some kind of ventilation hatch there. It looked like I could jump to the room below. My leg hurt enough as it was, but I couldn't see another option. Did I jump? Olisikohan tää nyt vaan joku... Oi vitsi. Oh man, my leg hurt like hell. Ihan tosi. There was a crumpled up letter on the floor. It had been scratched out heavily and it was hard to make out. Did I try to read the letter? Most of the letter was violently scratched out with what looked to be a ballpoint pen. All I could make out was need to. Just don't drinking need Norman. Who was Norman writing to? I stepped out of the factory, glad to be rid of the smell of its memories. I couldn't stop thinking about that room with the bottles in it. Was that guard I found outside really drinking up there? What about Norman, and who had rooted through all those lockers? I couldn't tell where I was as I looked around, but I figured needed to get to the road, get my bearings. Maybe Norman could help. His store wasn't that far off from the turn off to the factory, if I remembered correctly. Okei, nyt mua harmittaa. Olisikohan tämä pitänyt kuitenkin tehdä sitten semmosessa järjestyksessä, että olisi käynyt sittenkin siellä alhaalla sen oven takana, joka avattiin niillä virtakatkasijoilla, ja sitten vasta tullut tonne hahmo nilkuttaa. Sitten vasta tulla tonne huoneeseen. The garbage bin was a disgusting mess of rotten food and slick black bags. I saw a thin greenish corner poking out from one of the bags. It was my driver's license. It looked damaged. Did I take it back? I cleaned the card off as best as I could. It looked pretty beat up. I was amazed to have found my credit card and now this. I tucked the card into my wallet next to my credit card. Did somebody steal this from me? I wondered why they would have stashed it there. Epäilys kääntyy vahvasti Normania kohti. Sounded like it was going to start raining again. Ei tainnut olla mitään muuta tässä. I had entered Norman's place. This was the back of the store that he ran. It was oddly quiet except for the faint sound of a television. The entrance to the front of the store was locked from the inside. Looked like I couldn't just pop it open. It needed a key. There was a bit of a blood on the keyhole. What the hell? One of Rachel's old autumn coats hung on a rack. That was Norman's bedroom, wasn't it? What was this doing there? A speck of something dark and wet stained one of the sleeves. Inside the cabinet was a small but impressive collection of hunting rifles, shotguns, and even a few items I didn't think were legal here. One of the slots on the rack was empty. The gun I had found seemed to match the others there. If the handgun was Norman's, what the hell was he doing with it? The gun would fit there. Did I place it back in the cabinet? No ei missään tapauksessa, siinä on jo kaikki sormenjäljet valmiina. Niin ei laiteta takas. Though it weighed on me, I had a hard time parting with the weapon just then. Jos se todellakin on murhaase, niin me ei todellakaan laiteta sitä takaisin. What was this? It looked like a pull chain hanging from the ceiling. I wondered where it led. Did I pull the chain? Yes. I gave the chain a single tug and a simple folding ladder to the attic popped down. TV still flickered some indecipherable channel. I couldn't make out what was on the screen, but that glow just gave me the chills. Onko siinä Norman? No siitä kaatuu sit mun teoriani. Oh no, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Norman, my coworker, and one of the few friends I had in this town lay dead beside his armchair. His face and shirt were covered in blood. It looked like he had been shot trying to get up. His eyes were wide with shock, though they were already drying. Norman, what was Rachel doing here? Why did you have her coat? Norman, maybe you deserved better. You probably did. Did I close his eyes? Mä oon tehnyt kaikki muutkin huonot ratkaisut, niin tehdään nyt vielä sekin. I closed his eyelids down, shuddering as I did so. I wasn't sure if I wanted to give him peace or if I just couldn't stand to think anymore about what was going on. Vaikka nyt mun uusi teoriani alkaa kääntyä semmoiseen niinku mustasukkaisuusmurhaan. Mutta se ei selitä kuitenkaan minkä takia niitä muita nuoria naisia on tapettu tänne, että en tiedä. I guess this was Norman's kitchen table. He kept it clean enough, but there were water rings from 2 cups still there in the wood. I had never been to Norman's place before, at least I didn't remember ever doing so. The kitchen trash bin smelled fresh. I didn't dig through that mess, did I? Thought a lucky guy. I found a hairpin amongst the rotting food and trash and pocketed it. There were takeout containers and food scraps. Looked like Norman was eating for two. I hope to hell Rachel had nothing to do with that mess. Käydään täällä... Mikä tän sit ullakko vai? Tosta päästään pois. There was a large cardboard box that had been sealed. Did I open it? I opened up the old cardboard box and wasn't entirely surprised by what I saw. There were more of Rachel's things, more of my wife's clothes. Photos, shoes, even that old radio I gave her. Why, Rachel? What were you doing here with Norman? Okay. Ei ole kylläkään löydetty vielä avainta. Kai. Voi ei. I used the hairpin to pick the lock. The hairpin snapped in half, so I threw it away. Voi vitsi. Okay. The general store was small, but it was clean. It had the usual things: postcards, snacks, magazines and canned foods. Vai canned goods? Mitä siinä luki? Canned foods, probably. I never went there much. Rachel usually stopped by after work if we needed anything. The register was mostly empty and a fat stack of travel magazines sat beside it. I wondered if someone had robbed the place before killing Norman upstairs. The icebox seemed to be unplugged. It must have been off for a while. Most of its contents were half melted. What was the matter, Norman? Cheated on your hydro bills too. There were various postcards from the area, especially from the tourist traps. One of the postcards showed an old black and white photo of the water tower. It looked to be in much better shape then. Of all the postcards, that one seemed to be the most popular. There were only a few left. That night continued to take horrible turn after horrible turn. It had been weeks since I had last seen Norman, but to find him like that, as I thought of him still lying on the floor back there, the gun I carried seemed ever present. Seeing that dusty box of those old clothes was a shock. How long had they been there? And what was Rachel doing at Norman's place? I felt like I had only discovered more questions, no answers, but I was close to home. It was time to find out the truth. It was locked. This wasn't the right gate. The gate was locked tight. This wasn't my house. That door only led me back. I had to find my house. The gate was locked tight. This wasn't my house. the neighborhood's local post box. A letter was sticking out as if someone hadn't pushed it all the way in. I knew it wasn't right, but did I look at the letter? The envelope was addressed to Norman. There was no return address, but the handwriting looked familiar. I took a deep breath and tore open the package. Norman, I'm sending this to you in a letter because I'm afraid to tell you this in person. What we did, well, it was wrong. My husband isn't an easy man to be with, but he is my husband and your friend. I need some time to sort this out, away from you both. I'm going away for a while. I'm going to tell him, Norman, so don't you think you can hold that against me? Maybe we'll work it out. I'm not sure I even want to, but he deserves at least that much. Goodbye. I didn't know what to think. My mind was racing, my heart pounding. I had to get home. I just had to. Väre. I had entered our backyard. The rain gave me a terrible sense of foreboding, and it chilled me through my clothes. I was expectant but also afraid. I held my breath as I approached our back door. I was terrified to step inside. The house was painfully quiet. The only sound was my own breathing, ragged and strained. I flicked the light switch by the door. The power was off. I remembered having breakfast here on this very table. Was that yesterday or sometime before? The table was clean. It hadn't been used any time recently. The door to the basement. It was locked. Where had I put the damned key? There was a small pile of mail on the floor in front of the mail slot. How long had I been away? Why hadn't Rachel picked this up? Rachel on lähtenyt ja päähenkilö on mustasukkaisuuden puuskassaan käynyt tappamassa Normanin, mutta mitä muuta on tapahtunut sen jälkeen, siitä ei ole varmuutta. Most of the contents were bills. There was a credit card bill there. Did I open it? Yes. I ripped the bill open and read it. To my surprise, it said something about canceling my credit card due to non-payment. What the hell? The front door was locked from inside. I couldn't go out, though. I needed to see if Rachel was here. Ja tää oli se lukittu. Joo. Yritetään löytää avain tai vaihtoehtoisesti jotain, millä voidaan tiirikoida se, mutta the door was stuck shut. There was an old-fashioned keyhole underneath the handle. Musta pääsee 3. kerrokseen. Ei mennä sinne vielä kuitenkaan. I had found the last missing piece from my wallet, the old photo of Rachel, and I stared back at me, reminding me of better times. It didn't make me feel terribly comfortable. Did I keep it anyway? I replaced the photo in my wallet, feeling like I had got part of my life back. Still, the image made me uneasy. Why had I thrown it away? Our television, I had purchased it before I knew I was going to lose my job. I felt pretty guilty about it afterwards, but by then it was too late. Rachel was pretty angry about that, I realized. Ei muuta kuin 3. kerrokseen sitten. Our hallway mirror had been smashed, its pieces scattered around the floor. I couldn't really make myself out anymore. I wasn't sure I wanted to. Our sink, which needed to be replaced, one of the taps always stuck, but I hadn't got around to fixing it yet. That old house was charming for sure, but it wasn't always easy. We were lucky enough to get a house with one of those wonderful old claw-footed bathtubs. It seemed impractical at times, but it was part of what made that house home. On the screen was a website about the old water tower. There was a key in the top drawer of my desk. Did I take it? Yeah. I pocketed the key. The laptop was warm. It had been running for a while. Siellä oli 2 lukittua ovea. Oli se kellarin ovi ja sitten oli se kakkoskerroksessa oleva. Sekataan sitä ylikerros ensin. The books there were half mine, half Rachel's. Hey, now that I looked more closely, it looked like the man in that house had some of the same books as I did. Siis siellä ekastalossa. One book in particular seemed a bit odd. I remembered owning it, but not that edition. My wife's, Rachel's, suitcase was sitting on the bed. It was closed but I had a feeling what was in it. Did I open it? Eli ei se olekaan lähtenyt. Inside Rachel's suitcase were a few days' worth of clothes, some personal effects, and a train ticket. As I stared at the ticket, I could feel myself flush with anger and resentment. The date and time matched the receipt I had found. Okei, eli toisin sanottuna Rachel on kuolleena kellarissa. Rachel, why? Were you really going to run away with Norman? Was I really such a monster? Siltä alkaa vaikuttaa kyllä, että... Mennäs kattoo se kakkoskerroksen ovi ensin. Se oli täällä oikealla. The door was stuck shut. There was an old-fashioned keyhole underneath the handle. Okei, eli toisin sanottuna se on sitten varmaan se kellarin oven avain tää. I unlocked the basement door. There were old Christmas decorations in the box. I couldn't even remember our last Christmas. The garbage bags were stuffed with old paint cans and supplies. There was a dirty old key here. Did I take the key? No niin, no nyt saatiin. I took the small key and I tried to remember what it unlocked. Looked like there was plaster and old... Mikä? Truffle in here too. There were old clothes, tools, and other things we obviously hadn't thrown out yet. We had way too much junk. I had put up this divider wall last summer so we could create a separate room in the basement. I hadn't finished it yet, so the door was stuck and the dry wall was poorly installed. I might have been able to break through if I had found something heavy enough. Okei, eli pitää löytää jokin niin painava esine, että pystytään murtautumaan tuosta seinästä läpi. Mut nyt meillä on kakkoskerrokseen avain. The grimy key I had found in the basement unlocked the door. It looked like the room had been tossed around. The furniture was a mess. Did somebody break in here? was an old crowbar on the floor. Did I need to take the crowbar? No joo, sillä me saadaan rikottua se seinä. Jaa, täällä ei ole mitään muuta. Mulla on kyllä paha aavistus siitä, että mä tiedän mitä siellä seinän takana on. Tai tarkemmin sanottuna, kuka siellä seinän takana on. Did I break through the wall with the crowbar? Yes. With a heave I swung the crowbar at the wall. I smashed a hole large enough to step through. As I stepped through the broken wall, my breath caught in my throat. This was it. Was Rachel down there? Was she okay? Don't look. A filthy-looking pile of rags had been dumped in the corner. The stench of them was awful and made my eyes water. I was terrified to even touch the pile to see what lay within, but I knew I had to. I had come this far. After all this searching, after all I had seen, when I looked within the rags, did I finally find my Rachel? Hetkinen, tässä voisin sitten valita. No, sanotaan näin, että kaikki tähän asti viittaa siihen, niin mä nyt menen tuolla kyllä. Wrapped within the filthy rags, pale and still, was Rachel. She was covered in fading bruises and what looked like cuts. Her chest was a horrible mess of blood and dirt, and I couldn't bear to look at it. The knife in my boot, the gun in my pocket, were they the tools of her murder? I thought about all I had seen and wondered if any of it could help me figure out who had done this. And when I couldn't stay there any longer, I stepped away on shaky legs and made my way back upstairs. Reluctantly exhausted from my journey, I could no longer resist the urge to close my eyes. Okay, mitä tapahtui? Grim discovery. It was my wallet with its contents intact. Either I dropped that stuff or somebody else did. Maybe I was sleepwalking again, or maybe somebody stole it from me. Norman's store, that forest, the water tower. Was I at those places before? Yes. I didn't see how it could have happened any other way. I must have been the one to lose my wallet and its contents. But what does that mean? Tässä vedetään ilmeisesti tämmöisellä huonoimmalla mahdollisella loppuratkaisulla. This was the old photo of that other man and his wife, as I assumed. I found it in that house. I recalled those faded remains I had found deep underneath his house. What had he done there? Well, what did I think? Was that man involved in this whole mess somehow? No sen kellarissa oli kyllä niitä kaikkia omituisia varusteita ja lehtileikkeitä, niin kyllä sillä varmaan jotain tekemistä sitten oli. Definitely those tunnels, the odd jewels in his house and the remains of his wife. He wasn't innocent, that's for sure. Within the few broken pieces that remained of that mirror, I could see my face had grown pale and weak. I couldn't bear to look again. It was like I didn't actually expect a reflection. I felt empty and drained. Perhaps I would never know how that mirror came to be broken. Was it by Rachel's assailant or by Rachel herself? The thought lingered and would haunt me forever. The quiet in that room unnerved me terribly. I still love the old-time charm of that claw-footed bathtub, though it seemed like a cold comfort then. Rachel loved this part of the house. It was the keycard I found in the factory, the one that allowed me to slip through that door. It seemed to me that it was probably Norman's. But if that was true, what was he doing back at the plant? Did I think Norman was going back to the factory? No. No, somebody else was using that locker room, but who? The laptop had finally run out of power. How long had it been left running? I had made up my mind. Tuosta päästään alemmas, mutta tsekataan vielä, että täältä tuli varmasti kaikki tarkistettua. Maybe I would use some of Rachel's travel books and find some place to go. No matter what, I needed some kind of escape. Okei, täällä on muuta. Safe sat on the floor. It used a digital passcode lock. Did I try to open it? The safe used an 8-digit code. What was that damn code again? Tää pystyisi oikeesti syöttämään jonkun tämmösen koodin. Through the notebook I had taken from the forest. In it were the names that had been written down: Heather, Olivia, Ashley, Cheryl, Iris, Daphne, Holly, Rose, Rachel. Those poor girls, were they victims of the same person who had killed Rachel? I wondered what happened to the other names on that list, or the ones scratched out on that desk in those wet tunnels. The man in that house, was he responsible? When I woke up I had found him dead already. Harmi, kun ei päästä tonne kassakaappiin käsiksi. It was the letter I had taken from the postbox. Rachel, were you really having an affair with Norman? But why? I didn't think things were that bad. In the letter, Rachel seemed concerned. She almost seemed worried of what Norman might do. Did he do that to Rachel? Niitä tässä olisi myös semmoinen vaihtoehto. Ei. Mä en tiedä. Norman may have betrayed me, but I didn't think he was capable of that. I hated him so much, but I couldn't blame him for what had happened to my wife. From now on, I would have no one to get angry with me for stupid things like buying this TV. Just thinking about things like that made me sick with grief. Maybe I thought I was ready to go back into the basement. No mennä. Maybe there wouldn't be anything for me to find, but I had to take a last look. I could take this to a warm, safe place and do something about it. Did I pick up the knife? Yes. I took the knife and kept it firmly in my hand. If I wanted to end it, I could do it. I could do it with that gun. Did I pick it up again? Yes. It was like carrying an anvil, but I wouldn't let it go. Not again. Now that I stood there, I realized I couldn't go back into that room again. I had already seen too much. Okay. I sat down at the table and stared at the gun in my hand. It didn't seem so heavy this time. If I wanted to, I could use the gun to finally end this. The question was, did I think I deserved it? Did I? Was this my fault? Did I deserve to die? Oh no. Oh no. Kaikki kyllä viittaisi siihen, että jos mietitään, että paitsi että se, mä en tiedä miten, paitsi jos tässä on kaksi ihan erillistä keissiä, että olisi se ensimmäisessä talossa ollut mies, joka olisi sarjamurhaaja, joka olisi syyllistynyt niiden esimerkiksi leirintäalueella olevien naisten murhaamiseen ja myös vaimonsa murhaamiseen, jolla oli kyllä niitä kaikkia omituisuuksia siellä kellarissa ja lehtileikkeitä, josta tämä peli alkoi sieltä talosta. Mutta sitten myös vähän viittaisi, että tässä on tämmöinen mustasukkaisuuskeissi, että Rachel olisi pettänyt Normanin kanssa tätä päähenkilöä ja se olisi selvinnyt päähenkilölle ja sen johdosta tämä päähenkilö olisi tappanut Rachelin ja piilottanut ruumiin kellariin, mennyt tappamaan Normanin sen jälkeen. En mä tiedä, kyllä tämä vähän vaikuttaa siitä, että tämä on syyllinen. Living in this town hadn't been easy. The plant had helped in some way to stay grounded. It kept me in line, gave me something to do, and helped me get away from my past. When the factory closed, everything changed. I guess that was when I had started sleepwalking, disappearing for hours at a time. I had MRIs and piles of doctor's reports, but nothing seemed to help, not even drinking. But I swear I had tried to give it up. I know it. The sleepwalking never really went away, though. But I know Rachel had tried. I know she had tried to be there for me, even when everything was falling apart. This night had unearthed terrible truths, but I knew it was a final act of a long-standing horror I had been living. Waking up in that house tonight was the final cruelty. I wish I had remained unconscious in that room forever. It was obvious to me that the man I had found in that house had something to do with all this. Siltä kyllä vaikuttaisi. Could he have killed Rachel? It started to seem that there were too many things I had seen to think otherwise. After making it out of those tunnels, I thought those sewers might feel safer. I was wrong. The security tape I had watched showed someone being attacked by what looked like two people. But who was it that was attacked? Eli ne olisi voinut myös toimia yhdessä, se ensimmäisen talon mies ja sitten tämä päähenkilö. I had found the contents of my wallet scattered throughout town. Ja sitten tämä olisi voinut yrittää tämä ensimmäisen talon mies lavastaa yksin ton päähenkilön syylliseksi. Voi olla, että nämä on ihan totaalisia spekulaatioita, voi että mikään ei pidä näistä paikkaansa. Voi olla, että mä oon täysin hukassa tämän juonen niin kuin osalta. Why the hell had I been out there? had my sleepwalking gone to some new extreme? The thought that I couldn't account for my whereabouts but knew I had been to that forest and even Norman's place, well, it was terrifying. I didn't know what that meant, but at least I had recovered my things. Hopefully, I thought that would cover my tracks so I wouldn't be blamed for all of this. Even more troubling were those poor girls I had found in those terrible woods. Half hidden in a shallow grave, their secret death seemed like the ultimate defiling. If I hadn't found them, would anyone have done so? Would they have even been missed? I vaguely recalled the desk I had seen in those tunnels, the names etched there. Someone had killed those girls. Was it that man? Whatever had happened, I knew at least that Norman wasn't the one who kept going back to that factory. I hoped it meant that he had nothing to do with that guard's violent end. No, se on kyllä äärimmäisen epätodennäköistä. But who had been rooting through those lockers or drinking in that boarded-up room? After the factory, I thought I might find some solace if I could just get to Norman's store. But all I had found were more horrors and more questions. Now that I really consider it, that's when I should have seen it coming. Norman, what were you and Rachel up to? It was obvious things were more complicated than I had ever imagined. How long had you been going behind my back? More importantly, why, Norman? Whoever had killed Rachel had probably gone after you too. Maybe they knew about what you were up to. I would never know peace, Norman, but despite your transgressions, a part of me really did hope that you would. When I had marched through the rain towards home, I desperately clung to the hope that this would end. And I guess in a way it did, but how could I have known how hopeless it all was? I had started to feel as disoriented as when I sleepwalked. To think of it now, I guess I should have known from the terrible silence that greeted me when I first stepped into our house and stood there in the kitchen. There was no sound of television, radio, even the air was still, but seeing Rachel there lying ruined and discarded in the basement. That was a horror I could never have imagined. I didn't know if I had ever find the answers I craved, but I knew that somehow that other man I had found was responsible for this. If not directly, he must have had a hand in Rachel's death. So what was I doing in that damned house of his? Had I found out? Had I killed him? My damned condition made it difficult to know. Memories and time frames were always a mess, and I could never be sure. Knowing that man was dead, though, was cold comfort. My wife was gone, and no matter what happened to me now, I was lost forever. I checked the gun again, and it still had a few bullets left. I felt surprisingly calm as I sat there with it. I could feel its weight, and perhaps it was that sense, that presence, that allowed me to understand what had to be. Rachel was dead, and there was nothing I could do about it. No, se oli synkkä loppuratkaisu. Pistää miettimään, että jos tämän pelaisi läpi uudestaan täysin eri tavalla, niin johtaisiko se sitten aivan erilaiseen lopputulokseen. Ja toisaalta olisi myös mukava tietää, mitä siellä kassakaapissa oli sisällä, johon ei ikinä löytynyt sitä 8-numeroista tunnuskoodia.